we have this article written by Amelia Matthias on October 28th. UN rights investigator warns U.S. drone attacks may violate international law. Special reporter on extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary executions, Philip Alston, said Tuesday that the use of unmanned warplanes by the U.S. to carry out attacks in Pakistan and Afghanistan may be illegal. Alston criticized U.S. policy in a report to the UN General Assembly Human Rights Committee and then elaborated at a press conference. My concern is that these drones, these predators, are being operated in a framework which may well violate international humanitarian law and international human rights law. The onus is really on the government of the United States to reveal more about the ways in which it makes sure that the arbitrary executions, extrajudicial executions, are not in fact being carried out through the use of these weapons. So what he's basically saying is haphazardly lobbing missiles into civilian centers to kill one or two guys that might be mixed in there is not a really responsible policy and makes those people angry. And this is proven by an article from the AP on Friday, October 30th. Pakistanis confront Clinton over drone attacks. This is by Robert Burns, Islamabad. Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton was confronted repeatedly by Pakistanis Friday as she ended a tense three-day tour of the country, Pakistan, chastised by one woman who said a U.S. program using aerial drones to target terrorists amounted to executions without trial. On another thorny topic, Clinton slightly softened her blunt charge of a day earlier that Pakistani officials know where al-Qaeda terrorists are hiding and are doing little about it. Clinton faced sharp questions from Pakistani civilians about the U.S. effort that uses unmanned aircraft to launch missiles to kill terrorists along the porous, ungoverned border with Afghanistan. But she refused to go into detail about the classified strikes that have killed both key terror leaders and bystanders, long a source of outrage among Pakistan's population despite an equally deadly campaign of militant-spawned bombings. Asked repeatedly about the drones, a subject that involves highly classified CIA operations, Clinton said only that there is a war going on. She added that the Obama administration is committed to helping Pakistan defeat the insurgents. And in response to this week's stories about the Afghanistan war and Hamid Karzai's brother's ties to the CIA, as well as all of the stories about the drone bombings which have been going on for years there, I wrote the following comment. Naturally, the CIA is working with an opium trader whose brother they installed as the puppet leader of the country. And it makes sense when we consider why we would attack Afghanistan to avenge 9/11, which was supposedly carried out by mostly Saudis and masterminded by a Saudi that Bush said he doesn't think about anymore, and whom I've hardly ever heard our current president mention. This administration, Obama's, has proven it doesn't mind dropping bombs on innocent civilians and destroying their lives and property. So if we're so concerned about wiping out the opium trade, why don't they just apply the same scorched-the-earth tactics on the opium farmers there? Because they don't want to. They want to control the people growing the opium and thus the opium itself. The war at its core is nothing but a battle between the Crips and the Bloods to establish who's going to be the biggest drug dealer in the neighborhood. And our Peace Prize-winning president is nothing more than another gang-backed enforcer like Bush, firming our dominance over the natural resources of that part of the world, while pacifying much of the once anti-war left. And while that's a sad truth, it is a truth. And deep down, more and more Americans are beginning to realize it. Okay, now we have this story from last Saturday, October the 25th. Obama declares swine flu a national emergency. President Barack Obama declared the swine flu outbreak a national emergency, giving his health chief the power to let hospitals move emergency rooms off-site to speed treatment and protect non-infected patients. The declaration signed Friday night and announced Saturday comes with the disease more prevalent than ever in the country and production delays undercutting the government's initial optimistic estimates that as many as 120 million doses of the vaccine could be available by mid-October. Health authorities say that more than 1,000 people in the United States, including almost 100 children, have died from the strain of flu known as H1N1, and 46 states have widespread flu activity. So far, only 11 million doses have gone out to health departments, doctors' offices, and other providers, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention officials. Administration officials said the declaration was a preemptive move designed to make decisions easier when they need to be made. Officials said the move was not in response to any single development. A state of emergency was also declared right here in the great state of New York by our Governor Patterson. And now we have this article in completely unrelated news. Drugs giant GlaxoSmithKline says profits soar. This is from the AP on October 28th. London. Drugs group GlaxoSmithKline, maker of swine flu vaccine Pandemrix, said Wednesday that net profits surged 30% in the third quarter, aided by the weak pound in emerging markets. The group forecasts further improvement and significant sales in the fourth quarter due to influenza products as the world's governments prepare for mass vaccination programs to prevent further spread of swine flu. GlaxoSmithKline said in a results statement that net profit surged to £1.335 billion in the 3 months to September compared with the same portion of 2008. We are seeing direct evidence of success in our strategy to grow and diversify the business away from white pill Western markets, said Chief Executive Andrew Whitty in an earnings release. Then we skip down. GlaxoSmithKline currently has orders for 440 million doses of its swine flu vaccine, Pandemrix, ahead of the Northern Hemisphere's winter that could bring a second wave of the virus. Earlier this month, the European Commission cleared Pandemrix and another vaccine, Fosetria, for distribution in Europe. Fosetria is produced by Swiss firm Novartis. In late afternoon deals on Wednesday, GlaxoSmithKline shares dipped 1.03% to 1,243.50 pence on London's FTSE 100 index of leading companies, which was down 2.35% at 5,078.75 points. So yeah, they're getting rich. Now, in all of the swine flu panic that they're stirring up, we have this little fact printed by Fox News on October 8th, and I don't really like using Fox News as a source, but if it's a fact, and that's how it's presented. First daughters not vaccinated against H1N1. President Obama's school-age daughters have not been vaccinated against the H1N1 flu virus. White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs says the vaccine is not available to them based on their risk. The president's daughters, it's not available to them if they want it. The Centers for Disease Control recommended that children ages 6 months through 18 years of age receive a vaccination against the H1N1 flu virus. At this time, only children with chronic medical conditions are receiving the vaccination because their immune system is not strong enough to fight off the strain. The CDC also says a regular seasonal flu shot does not protect against the virus. Moving on to economic news, we have an article from George Washington's blog on October 28th. Government is trying to make bailouts for the giant banks permanent. Paul Volcker and senior Harvard economist Jeffrey Miron both testified to Congress this week that the government is trying to make bailouts for the giant banks permanent. Writing Wednesday in The Hill, Congressman Brad Sherman pointed out that, quote, in my opinion, Geithner's proposal is TARP on steroids. Section 1204 of the proposal, and this is the proposal being the Resolution Authority for Large Interconnected Financial Companies Act of 2009, allows the executive branch to use taxpayer money to make loans to or invest in the largest financial institutions to avoid a systemic risk to the economy. Geithner's proposal reminds me of the Troubled Asset Relief Program, the $700 billion Wall Street bailout adopted last year, but the TARP was limited to 2 years and to a maximum of $700 billion. Section 1204 is unlimited in dollar amount and is a permanent grant of power to the executive branch. TARP contains some limits on the executive compensation and an array of special oversight authorities. Section 1204 contains absolutely no